Alright, so this video I'm going to be reviewing a clone house that is at least new to my channel. It is not a new clone house by any means, but it is to my channel. And it is going to be a clone house that at least my viewers in the States, while they might have heard of it, probably have not tested anything from it. It has been mentioned in several other reviewers have mentioned it, several other channels it's been on, especially those not based in the States. It is a company that comes from the UK. You've heard of it, like I said, I'm sure. It's Perfume Parlour. Now, I wanted to try these because, well, there isn't a whole lot of information on them. I also want to see how they compare to other houses. You know, some of the popular houses, Dua, Alexandria, Sensual Obsessions, Dapper, King Fragrances. You know, there's a million. Attack of the Clones. There's a bunch of just different clone houses, new bottles that are all really good in the States. But I want to see how this kind of compared to those. So, for my just curiosity, I thought it would be neat for my viewers if I got offerings from them that weren't very redundant, were unique kind of to that house. When I say that, I mean it's not another clone of Elysium. It's not another clone of Aventus. It's not another clone of, hell, even at this point, Angel Share. Or, you know, what I have noticed most of the clone houses do is there's a popular release. We'll use Angel Share just because, or Parfums de Marley Greenlee, whatever. Or one of the other 12 names that Parfums de Marley Greenlee goes under. But it comes out, bunch of hype around it. One clone house will have it, and then shortly thereafter, a day after, 2 days after, a week after, everyone else follows suit. We've seen it with all of it. I mentioned this in one of my other videos. I don't know. There's many explanations for this. One could be purely hype. They see it sells good. The other ones want to offer the same thing to remain competitive and to kind of ride that hype train. The other is they could be all getting their oils from the same distributor, supplier, and once it becomes available, then all of a sudden everybody gets it at the same time. Or whatever. Who knows? You know, we do know some of the clone houses actually obviously have their own machines, and they are doing their own analysis and breakdown and creating their own oils. Some others not so much. Anyway, the reason again, this is just a long-winded way of saying I wanted to get stuff that was unique to this house, that wasn't redundant, that wasn't repetitive. So I chose two. I got Superlative. Again, their bottles come in 50 ml offerings. Pretty nice decant bottles. It's got the little ingredient breakdown on there. And Penine. So Penine, I was trying to remember which is which. Penine is Parfums de Marley Carlisle. There's only two other clone houses that clone this. Well, there's more than that, but two of the popular clone houses that clone this. And that's Dapper and Dua. Well, to take that back, now Sensual Obsessions has one as well. Something that I've noticed, the Dapper and Sensual Obsessions, is the opening on Carlisle is very harsh and not at all like the real deal. Something I've noticed, Dua's is not as harsh. What I've noticed, though, about all of those clones is the tobacco note is much more prominent than it is in the real Carlisle. I'll get into that more so here in a minute with a comparison. The other one I picked up is Superlative, which is their version of Layton Exclusif. This is the only clone that I'm aware of Layton Exclusive. And for that reason, I really wanted to get this. I wanted to see how it was. So, yeah, I think this is definitely, obviously unique. Nobody else has cloned this yet, at least as far as I'm aware. So how do these fare? Again, price, shipping is kind of expensive. Getting these from the UK, in the States, shipping is kind of expensive. But I think all in with shipping, this was still a little under $70, I believe, shipped. 100 milliliters for about $70. So you're talking 35 a piece for 50 mil. Cheaper than most of the clone houses out there. Cheaper than Dua, cheaper than Alexandria, cheaper than Sensual Obsessions, definitely cheaper than Dapper, really all of them. This is very cheap, but only really matters if it's worth getting. So let's see how these play, pan out. Let's see how they smell. I'm gonna go with the Carlisle one first, Penine. Oh, I guess I'll show you the atomizer. It's pretty good on these decants. Opening again, very alcohol-y. Yeah, there's definitely alcohol in there. There's definitely that tobacco. It's just harsh. Very harsh. It's the opening I'm not a fan of. It's very reminiscent of Dappers and honestly even Sensual Obsessions. I'm not a huge fan of any of the current Carlisle clones as far as it being an actual clone of Carlisle. The best, I think, house to do it has been Dua. But even theirs misses the mark. What I will say about this, the dry down, it's going to take a while, but the dry down on this does get creamier. It does get smoother. It smells a lot better blended, a lot more sensual, seductive. It has a very nice dry down that gets close to Carlisle. Again, it's not 1-to-1, but it gets a lot closer to Carlisle in the dry down. And in that regard, in the dry down, it is closer, in my opinion, certainly than Dappers, and I think it gets closer than Sensual Obsessions as well. It's more in line with Cumbria on the dry down. So if you can get past that opening, think of it as a, Club de Nuit, Intense Man or something where you got that limited pledge opening. If you can get past the opening, it is really good. Now it's just a matter of getting past that opening, and whether that's something you want to deal with. But I am going to keep that probably. It smells pretty good, again, in the dry down. So the next one is Superlative, and this is their version of Layton Exclusif. So those of you who are aware of Layton Exclusif, essentially what you get with Layton Exclusif is a dirtier, more woody, oudy smelling version of Layton. So whereas Layton's this kind of spicy vanilla with a little methylated kind of undertone to it, kind of makes it a masculine scent, masculine vanilla scent. The Exclusif ties in woods and kind of like this dirty oud to it. And you get that with this. You get the dirtiness with it. How does it fare to the real one? It's more chemical smelling, almost medicinal, but you get that dirt. What you don't really get is much Layton. You get the dirt, but really not a whole lot of Layton. And I do, if you're curious, do have the real one. The real one, you get, the Layton is right there. It's very prominent. You still get the dirt, that oudiness and woodiness, but you can definitely smell the Layton. And for you, those of you who are curious about this, Layton Exclusif is something that kind of grew on me. I wasn't really sure about it when I first got it. This Carlisle's already smelling better. But I wasn't really sure about it. It's weird. So when you spray it on the skin and smell it, it smells very dirty, very earthy. Like you literally just picked up some soil. It's almost if you sprayed yourself with Layton and like smashed some soil on it. And I'm not a huge fan of that. But what does work with this is the sillage. When you pick this up in the air, I don't know what it is, but there is something about it that comes off very sexy. So in the sillage, that works. But I think if somebody were to come up to you close, in a sensual setting, and smell you, I don't find that many people would enjoy that scent. But when you're walking around and it's kind of wafting off in the air, this smells really good. It really does. Now, do I prefer this over the original Layton? No, I don't. For that reason, it can be off-putting, but there is something about it. When I was testing this again, I was picking up in the air, and that sillage is just beautiful. It smells really good. So, is this a good clone of it though? No, it's not. It smells very chemically, very slightly reminiscent of it. But it just has no sweetness to it. The Layton of vanilla, that spicy vanilla, is just not there. It's this medicinal kind of flat, earthy fragrance. It, in my opinion, is a terrible clone. The Carlisle is much closer. Again, the dry down too. Carlisle, this superlative version or Penine version of Carlisle suffers from the same thing that all of these clones do of Carlisle, which is there's just too much of a tobacco note. They don't smell as creamy. They're not as well blended. They're not as sensual. They all fall flat in that regard. Every single clone I've smelled. You cannot get Carlisle right. I was really hoping Alexandria would do it because I have been most impressed by their clones. But to this date, I've been begging, and Henny hasn't done it. And I'm not holding my breath. It's been out for a long time now. It is what it is. But Layton Exclusif, if you're a huge fan of Layton, I think you might like this, but you do need to like kind of earthy, oudy fragrances. If you don't like earthy fragrances, don't bother with it. Or, if you're anticipating it being a more mass appealing Layton, it's certainly not. Layton is the safer bet. So anyway, Perfume Parlors, I'd say it's worth trying out. But I'm certainly not blown away by either of these. I think there's better clone houses. You do get more for the money. And I've only tried 2 of their offerings. So take that for what it's worth. But I don't think I'll be reordering from them, anytime soon. Just because I haven't been impressed with these 2 offerings. I think it's cool they're trying to clone stuff that, there aren't already clones out there of, but they don't quite hit the mark. So anyway, if anyone was considering this house, I hope this was helpful. I figured it was worth it, checking out. I do have other reviews coming up as usual. Sorry it's been taking so long. I actually have several other house reviews I'm going to be doing. I got a Sedley versus Leedy's comparison. I got some other clone house reviews. I'm also got a few oil houses, U.S. Oil Perfumery, a few other oil places that I have gotten samples from, ordered. Some I've already gotten in. And I'm going to compare those to various clones on the market, as well as the originals, just for you all to, let you know if they're good offerings, if I'd recommend them, whatever the case may be, okay? So anyway, I don't want this to get much longer, but Perfume Parlor, it's good value for the money, but the clones that I've smelled leave much to be desired. Certainly the Layton Exclusif does. It's not even close. Again, I think this is definitely a case of where you get what you pay for.